Hello, everyone. I hope that everyone has had a wonderful weekend. My weekend didn't start out all that wonderful. I woke up yesterday and I was so ill. I was feverish. I had chills. I was just feeling like I got hit by a Mack truck. My whole body ached, and I basically just kind of moped around the house and slept a whole lot. And I went to bed last night asking the Lord to please give me a good night's sleep and let me wake up feeling just so much better. And I did. I slept well, and I woke up today not 100% myself, but so much better. And since I had a very difficult weekend and just trying to get back into feeling better, I had been tagged by Maniac Gammy's Homestead and Hancock Homestead and Gardens for 7 questions on being frugal. And so I thought I would take this opportunity and answer some of those questions. So the first one is, what do you do every day to be frugal? Well, I've had a while to think about that one, and I guess one of the things I'd have to say is I limit my drive time. I do not just get in the car and go. I have it all planned out. So if I need to go to the Duran Farms and I need to go to the grocery store, or I need to go do this or pick up that, then I try to schedule it all during that same day, during that same time period, so that I only have to go the once and it'll be done with. The other thing I would have to say is, we don't really watch TV here. We rarely have the TV on. I bet you it's turned on maybe once a week. And we turned it on because of the hurricane that was going on this weekend in Texas. And my husband has family that's down in Texas. And so, we turned it on to see updates on things like that. But otherwise, we don't watch TV. It's never on. The other thing is, I make sure that I have everything unplugged that needs to be unplugged, because I was told a while back ago that if you have any appliance that has I don't know what they're called, but there's those big little boxes on the plug that goes into the wall, that actually those take up more electricity, and they continually will use the energy if you keep them plugged in. So to unplug them, I even have an electric pencil sharpener that has one of those, so I don't keep it plugged in. I only plug it in when I use it. The other thing is we changed out all of our light bulbs. In fact, we even have begun changing them from the fluorescent little whirly things that look so weird to the LED lights, because they are even more efficient. So that is the other thing that we've done, is we've changed all of our light bulbs, well, not all of them, probably about 80% of them over to LED. Anyways, that's that for the first question. The second question is, what is your best strategies for saving on utilities? Well, what we did quite a few years ago, 9 years ago now, is we went and we purchased an outdoor wood furnace. And that heats our entire home. It also provides us with all of the hot water we could ever want. So that was a huge savings, because our only other resource for heating our home is through propane, which can be quite expensive. So with that outdoor furnace, we spend approximately $200 a year on propane, and that's it. So that is a huge savings. Some of the other things we do is that I will use fans in order to help cool the rooms down, even though we do use central air conditioning in order to keep the temperature for the indoor temperature at a little bit higher temp. In order to save money, we'll use a couple fans just to kind of keep that air going, to try to it feels cooler when you do that. So that's one of the things that we do. So I really can't think of much else other than turn off the lights when you're not in a room. My kids were the worst at that. I don't know if your kids were, but oh my gosh, I used to walk around behind them just turning off all the lights. But it really does save them money. Anyways, on to question number 3. Question number 3 was, what are your frugal tips for saving on food and household purchases? Well, one is I make my own laundry detergent, and I even make all my own household cleaners. And when it comes to purchasing food and household stuff, I think it's worth looking at the ads if you are at a place where you have multiple stores that you have a choice to go to. Because I found that sometimes, we all think that Aldi's is this really good place to go and buy food. But for certain things, it may not be. So I think it's important to look at what your needs are for that week and what you need to buy, and look at what it's going to cost to go to and get it at this store opposed to this store. So I think that's something that I do. I will look at the 3 different ads that come through the mail to me, and I will determine of the majority of my food that I need, which one of these is going to be the best buy for me. And it's not always Aldi's. And another thing that I would have to say is, when it comes to saving money on household products and purchases, is don't buy soda pop. It's not a necessary food, so don't waste your money on it. Look at soda as kind of like a treat, kind of like you would Christmas and Easter. You don't buy all that stuff that you buy for those holidays any other time of the year. So think of soda in the same way. It needs to be purchased only as a very special purchase during only certain points of the year, not as something that you would use every week. And another way that I save money is I do buy paper towels, but I only use them for cooking, like for putting my bacon on in order to drain the grease, things like that. I don't use my paper towels to clean or to dry my hands or anything like that. I use rags, and I just wash them over and over and over again. And one of the best ways you can do that is, as your tea towels start to look kind of bad, don't throw them away. That becomes your rag. Buy yourself a new tea towel and use the tea towel, the old one, as a rag. And that way, your kitchen towels always look nice, but you got plenty of rags. That's what I do. And I'm trying to think, what else do I do? I always shop with a list. I find that if I don't shop with a list, I usually don't have the product that I need, some of the things that I need in order to make the foods that I intended for the week, or I overbuy. So always shop with a list. Another thing that I do is buy used. We just bought a used washing machine. If you can buy it used and it's in good shape, and I don't mean to be such a penny pincher that now you have to go out and buy another used, washing machine 2 years down the road. No, I don't mean that. I mean, use your common sense. And if you can buy it cheaper and it's used, that's not a problem. It's going to save you some money. So now on to question number 4. Okay, well, the next question is, what was the best tip for saving on clothing? Well, honestly, most of my clothing is always purchased on sale. And the best time for you to be able to get, I shouldn't say most, all. I can't tell you, I've never purchased anything for clothing that wasn't on sale, period. I'll be honest with you, I won't do it. But most of the time you're going to find that at the change of seasons. So it's just kind of like when I was looking for a bathing suit, even though it was still the middle of summer where I live, bathing suits are brought out into the spring, and once they're gone until the following season. So, because it's not a year-round purchase around here. So if I go in the end of June, first part of July, that is the end of season for bathing suits. So I was able to get, a bathing suit like, 70% off. That's the way to do it. Otherwise, they're too expensive. So I would have to say that that's probably the main thing for clothing, is to be willing to wait and to find those bargains. The other thing that I honestly got to say is that I am willing to go to thrift stores, but I will tell you, around here, the thrift stores really are not cheaper. I have walked into thrift stores, and I believe I did a video on this once, and their clothing was more expensive than the clothing that you could purchase at the Dollar General. Yeah. So I know that a lot of places where some of you live, that's a really good thing. Your thrift stores, they're not so much here. But I will say that I have found some of your better stores like Macy's and JCPenney's, when they have sales, they're cheaper than Walmart in their prices. And you're getting a better quality of product. So it's going to last you a lot longer. I can't tell you the last time that I have purchased a shirt at a better department store that it's actually wore out. I have clothes that are 20 years old that I can still wear because the quality is there, so they last. And I can't say that for the clothes that I've purchased at Walmart. They usually only last a season. So that's just something to think about, depending on your needs. If you only need it for that season, then yes, just go buy it at Walmart. But if you want it to be something that you're going to have for years yet to come, you might want to think about trying to bargain hunt and find good sales at some of those department stores, because it will be clothing then that you will have longer. I think the other thing is I always try to find the best deal. So if I find something somewhere, I will go on Amazon.com and I will look to see what is their prices for the same thing, because they have free shipping. So if I can find it cheaper on Amazon, I'm going to do that. Because, and I'm not talking about $1, because I'm all for keeping our people at work and our local economy going. But at the same time, if Amazon's able to offer it to something for $10 and $15 cheaper, yeah, I'm going to go with Amazon. So anyways, on to question number 5. For question 5 is tips on how to stay out of debt. Well, probably the first thing would be to stay out of debt. Do not have more than one major credit card. And whenever you put a purchase on that major credit card, you pay it off before the 30 days comes due for the bill, so that you do not have to pay interest. So if you cannot afford to pay off whatever it is you're putting on that credit card within 30 days, you don't buy it. Period. You just don't. And I know there are probably some people out there saying, but what if? Well, I understand that things come up. But putting purchases, large purchases, on a major credit card is a bad idea. The interest rates are terrible. Don't do it. Find another way. Go to your credit union. Maybe they can give you a short-term personal loan, and their interest rates are going to be a lot less. So that is my number one advice. Do not put anything on a credit card if you cannot pay it off in 30 days. And that's about my only advice that I have, because it's been my own personal experience. And yes, this is, real life. Been there, done that. Credit cards are what's going to get you in trouble every time. You will never be able to pay off a credit card paying the minimum due, and that's it. You'll have it for 30 years. You'll never get out from under it. So just don't do it. Anyways, on to question number 6. Question number 6 is share one thing to save money. It is very important that everyone save money. And I think one of the things that people make a mistake on is that they think they need to save a large amount. And you don't need to start out with a large amount, because even a small amount over a long period of time is going to become a large amount. What my husband and I do personally is we have a credit union, and we have a certain amount of money that is automatically, every payroll on that Friday is deducted from our checking account, because we have an automatic payroll put into our checking account from where he works. And that very same day, there is a certain amount of money that comes out of our checking account and is transferred to our savings account at our local credit union. And that's how we are able to save money. And sometimes we are able to raise that amount up for a few months, and sometimes my husband needs to call him up and say, okay, we need to lower this to this amount because there's just some things that we've had to purchase, and we're just going to need more money. So that would be my biggest advice, is set aside some money into a savings account that is not access really easy for you to use. We have a savings account at our local bank too, but it's attached to our checking account. So you know what? It really doesn't help, because it's just so easy. Oh, well, we got that money in there, and we don't have to worry. And that's just not good. If you're like me, you need out of sight, out of mind, don't have access to it all that easy. That's how it works for me and my husband, and that's what we do. And question number 7 is, how important is it to save money? I believe it's very important to save money. And one of the reasons it's important to save money is because our children are watching us. We might not realize it, but they are. And we need to set the example to our children on what is important. And they aren't going to grow up and learn that it's important to save money unless each of us teach our children how important that is. And just to give you an example, that most children, they really do, they get excited over the concept of saving money. And when I was a little girl, and yes, I'm going to be dating myself here, my mother would send me to school with pennies and nickels and dimes. And we would stand in line in order to save for United States savings bonds. And every week, I would give my nickels and dimes and pennies, and I would be issued a stamp, and I would put the stamp on the card, and once that card was all filled up, I would be issued a United States savings bond. And that was really exciting for me, because it was a real way for me to see how putting away pennies, nickels, and dimes really does add up. So that's just an idea. I know they don't do that anymore, unfortunately, for children, but we as parents can become creative in ways to teach our children the importance of saving. And if it's important to us, it will become important to them. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and I do want to tag homemaker on the homestead. I don't believe that she has been tagged to do this. So yes, you are tagged on the 7 questions on being frugal. And I'll talk to all of you in just a little while. For today's devotion, I'm going to be reading from Romans chapter 12, verses 4 and 5. Just as our bodies have many parts, and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. You know, when we think of Moses, a lot of things come to mind. Some of us might think of Charlton Heston in the movie The 10 Commandments. And some of us may think of Moses as that great lawgiver, or maybe as the man whose personal integrity and godliness led 3 million people through the wilderness to the promised land. But we all probably do think of Moses as a man of God. Yet, did you know that the life of Moses is actually a great paradox? He was a human being. He had flaws, just like the rest of us. He had some serious setbacks and also made some mistakes. The Bible commentator I.M. Haltman said of Moses, he was the child of a slave and the son of a queen. He was born in a hut and lived in a palace. He was educated in the court and dwelt in the desert. One thing we learn from the life of Moses is that God can use anyone. As believers, we are a part of what the Bible calls the body of Christ. And just as each part of the human body plays an important role, every person in the body of Christ plays an important role as well. God has called each of us and has gifted us to serve Him. We are told in Romans 12, just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. In His grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things as well. God's grace produces action in God's people for the good of others. God wants to use us. And He wants to use you. We are not all called to do the same thing, but we are all called to do something. And with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And I have a question. What has God called you to do? God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow.